hook up with the Thai Summit first. Once we get Thai Summit to sponsor, I'm sure the Thai restaurant will come in. So if they want the business, they'll come in. So I think it's a good way. So we, instead of Chinese New Year, we were going to convert it to lunar to New Year to, or to cover the ties. Yeah. So it'll be fun. Yeah.
Okay.
So,
Sounds good.
So, Richard, did you invite him to our next, if anyone wants to come to the next planning meeting?
when's the meeting?
It is October 26th.
Oh.
October 26th at Frontal Lobe. Hey, anybody with any thoughts or ideas and all that stuff is all welcome.
What'd you say? 10 a.m.?
10 a.m.
Is maybe we're meeting again though before then. I have to look. Let me just check. I'm sorry, it's September 26th, next Thursday.
Yeah.
10 a.m. Matt, there's chairs up here if you want to come be part of the table.
Thank you.
At Frontal Lobe. Robin is locking up downstairs, but she'll be up in just a minute. We're not going to wait any longer for Eric, but thank you for coming tonight.
Sit here.
I am Diane Larkin, the DDA director. For those of you, I think we've all met by now. I thank you for coming back tonight. We are really excited about what we're going to see tonight. I don't know everything, but I have been sitting in hours and hours of meetings with interviews with all of you and other community partners. And I know Ben has been out on the street. He's been in the coffee shop. He's been in stores. He's been taking pictures, and he's been interviewing people. So I even heard some new feedback this morning that he got it this morning, have an early morning coffee at Uptown Coffee House. So he's been doing a great job. Ben Muldrow is from Arnett, Muldrow and Associates out of Greenville, South Carolina, if you didn't have a chance to meet him earlier this week. So what I'd like to do is just kind of go around the table so you can all know who each other is. And we'll real quick do quick introductions, okay? So Lindsay?
Hi, I'm Lindsay Wooten, and this is my first week working with Diane. So it's been an adventurous one, and I've learned a lot about the town, which is great. So I was an intern over the winter, and I worked on the Opera House Historic District. I kick-started that whole process. So happy to be back.
I'm Brian Walker. I'm a member of the DDA board relatively recently. Howell, obviously. I'm a teacher in Brighton.
Want to plug your running club?
Oh, yeah. I'm one of the founding members of the Howell Underground Running Team, or HURT, as we like to call it.
Nice.
It's a running club. We meet every Monday at 7 at night at the Howell High School track. Yes.
So you'll be.
Well, he'll be teaching, but we're going to be working with him.
Yeah.
I own a Volvo Visual Communications. Anna Olson, I'm with the Howell Library.
Richard Lynn with Richard Lynn Photography.
I'm Maria Stewart. I own the Livingston Post, and I all over the place. Pat Godfrey with the Howell Chamber of Commerce.
I'm Matt Bennett with Clear University. This is my 8th week in Howell, so I'm excited to see how my new hometown is going to look.
Awesome. Cool. I'm Adam Murphy.
I'm Marianne Pukanich. I grew up here and
Matt Wilson. I'm on the DDA board. My wife
Robin, you want to tell us who you are real quick?
Sorry. I'm Robin Gerard. I am on the business development.
Stewart back
Yeah.
They're setting all the stage.
The engaged audience member.
I'm Jessie Lawrence, promotion specialist with Michigan Main Street Center at MISHDA. We are the organization that offers the branding service a few times a year, and Howell was chosen this year out of several applicants to receive the service from the state.
So she's picking up the tab.
It's always good. She's the honored guest today. I want to go ahead and get started at 6:15. I promised I would be sensitive to your time, and I get to drive to Abington, Virginia tonight and speak at 9:45 in the morning at a creative economy conference for Southwest Virginia. So we're gonna make sure that we keep this nice and tight. But thank you all for coming. I see a lot of new faces, but I see a lot of faces that I have met over the course of the week. And you know, just so you all know, I do this every week. I'm in a different community every week. I am always in the mindset of how to make places better. That's what my company does, and it's what I'm passionate about. And I feel like outside of church and family, a person's home is the thing that they are the most passionate about. So I'm honored to be able to work with communities and work with people with the place that they call home and try to make some recommendations that will make them better. And I have 5 kids and spend my life on the road. So one of the things that I try to do is I try to convince myself to move somewhere. That's my task over the week that I'm there. If I can justify to myself why I would pack my family up and move there, then I feel like I'm arming you with a relatively compelling argument that you can share with others. So I can tell you that creating that argument in my mind was not difficult at all in Howell. And I work a lot of places that are tough. I can tell you, because you are so nice, that I work in some real doozies. So whenever I get to come into a community like Howell, the question is not what in the world am I going to talk about? It is how are we going to organize all the assets that they have? How are we possibly going to create a system that will allow them to tell their very unique story? So I'm going to do my best to go through, again, like we say, everything that you're seeing, for the most part, was created since 8 o'clock last night. We spent the whole first day in meetings, spent the whole second day out touring the community, taking photos, and talking with folks one-on-one. And so you will start to see how the system is coming together, but there's still a lot of elements that we'll be doing between now and our next visit, which is actually short around the corner. It's going to be in early October. So it is a very fast-paced process. But one of the places I always like to start is I like to look at what some of the communities around us are doing, simply because we need to know. We need to have that context. You can think that you have come up with one of the most fantastic ideas ever, but if the community next door is saying the same thing, then it's not going to go quite as far. And it was kind of interesting. You all compared yourselves very, very often to Brighton. That was the benchmark that you kind of set for yourself, and that is a general statement. Everyone didn't. The thing that I will tell you is, first of all, your pond needs to be much, much bigger, because the quality of what you have to offer is of value to people far outside of Livingston County. So don't set your sights so close to home when you're looking at comparing to one another, because you have got tremendous assets. But then I will share this, because every now and then when we do kind of pick up a little bit of the rivalry, if I pick up on anything to throw a little jab at, I will. This is your assignment. I'm staying at the Holiday Inn Express here in Howell, and they do a fantastic job of making brochures available and making collateral material available. I was able to pick up your shopping and dining guide there, which is a fantastic and professional publication. I picked up Downtown Brighton's as well. It has an interesting logo on it, but even more interesting was the tagline. And you all, if anybody can explain to me this after the meeting, then I invite you to. It says, "Set trends, be seen." Okay, now I understand those two sentences, and I understand they want to be trendsetters, they want to be the place to be seen. But they spelled seen S-C-E-N-E. So If anybody can explain to me how that's not an error, I want to hear it. But, everybody, it was so funny because as I would show it to people, they would always give them the benefit of the doubt. And they'd say, oh, well, I think it's a word play. Like, look, I do word play all the time. I can't figure out what the play is. But it is always good to see. And I will say, with all of these, one of the things that everyone is different and everyone is a little different on the approach that they've taken. But they do a good job of either infusing a sense of activity in a district or a sense of style. Birmingham, for example, you can tell with that black background that they're trying to create a certain sense of style, where Farmington, on the other hand, is creating a kind of sense of energy and kind of casual comfort. Yeah.
Birmingham has a sign thing. They have to have black with gold.
Oh, do they? Okay.
A sign ordinance?
Yeah, if you look at their real estate signs.
They're all, okay. Well, there you go. Now, the next thing that I always like to do is come around and look at what is being used here at home. And we got a couple things that I landed on these three because these are kind of the three main players. Now, obviously, everybody has seen the downtown logo. Very, very professional, clean, easy to read. Uses colors of green, shades of greens and yellow that kind of tie to the high school. The new Chamber of Commerce logo, which brings in a very contemporary and kind of progressive identity, professional. It screams professional. But then it also brings in, I know that was by accident, Pat, wasn't it? It also brings in a variety of colors. So at the same time, because I think that I saw the old logo was a more traditional, more literal door. So it was a really, really nice evolution and adaptation of that identity. But it breathed new life into it, brought it freshness. And then finally, we have the city of Howell down there on the bottom.
She said it, you didn't have to.
I didn't say anything. We got the city of Howell down there on the bottom. Well, yeah, I mean, it is one of those things where it's like when you have a standard acorn style light. But the thing that I want to point out to everybody is I want to be very, very deliberate, because we have to remember there's a difference between the identity for this place and the identity for the city. The city is the government. They're the ones that tax us. They're the ones that run the police department that pull us over. They're the ones that don't pick up the trash when they're supposed to sometimes. They're the ones whose elected officials don't always make the decisions we want them to make. So just like colleges and universities have athletic logos and academic logos, it is absolutely okay for there to be a separation in personality between the legal governmental entity of the city and the place that we're trying to build positive brand equity in. Does that make sense? Absolutely okay. A lot of times when people talk about branding, they think branding means one logo, only one logo, everybody looks exactly alike. And that is simply not how it works in communities.
Then who's the ownership of the logo?
The ownership of this logo, technically the resources belong to the DDA, but our recommendation is that that resource kit is made available as an open source resource. It is made available to the business community. They are stewards of that brand, but it's going to take the entire business community to be able to effectively launch it. So, great question. Now, typically the way that I approach this is through a series of 4 brand elements. And I like to define these elements and tell you why I picked what I did, so that when you tell me that you hate them, you have to have a strategic reason you hate them instead of just an objective, your opinion. So we're fighting opinion with strategy. It's a very great way to do deployment. No, one of the first things I wanted to start with was color palette. How do we deal with color palette? And I went to 3 main areas of previous investment. The first was the pre-existing Downtown Howell logo. The second was the investment in wayfinding signage throughout the community. And then the third was the new investment in the new identity of the chamber. Because I felt like between those, we were getting we were getting our arms wrapped around the primary areas of investment and identity in the place. So when you pull all of those together, I landed on 6 colors. Now, what's kind of interesting is this is a photo of one of the wayfinding signs, the logo, and the new chamber logo. So you can see when I sampled the colors out, this green from the chamber logo just so happened to be the same green from the band. Probably intentional. That's a great connection. This orange from the wayfinding just so happened to be the same orange from the chamber logo. The red was a unique color to the wayfinding signage. Dark green was unique to downtown. And we've got some blues. And I did pull a slight variation of the blue, the lighter blue, just so it kind of kept it in that same color palette and that same tonal family. But what this is going to do is it's going to give us the opportunity to have 6 colors, create some action and some vibrance, but then also cluster these together into groups of 2. So our 2 greens, our kind of red and orange, and our blues. And you'll see how that'll manifest itself. But that is where the colors come from. And now we're going to make a concerted effort to use colors as glue. We want to use colors to help connect the dots. We want those colors to start making their way into the events that we put on and into all the ways that we market our community. And since we have so many colors to choose from, then we have that opportunity to expand and grow that. The other thing that's interesting about this is it still gives the chamber the opportunity, because of when you add that purple or violet into the palette, it changes the whole way that it relates to one another. Still relates well, but it changes it. So it still gives the chamber their own individual palette and their own individual personality in the overarching system. Does that make sense? Okay, cool. Second was typeface. And I looked at a lot of different things around, and I made a decision that apparently was a decision that had been made several times before, that we didn't really love the typeface that was put on the wayfinding signage. I don't know if you can picture it or not. It's got an interesting big kind of swoopy H with an inline to it. And then it has a serif typeface with a little bit of a slant to it. Now, the only place that I saw that used was in wayfinding signage. Wayfinding signage is a huge investment from a dollar perspective, but it was not such a big investment that I felt like it needed to drive our typeface selection. So instead, again, what I did was I looked at organizational logos. I landed on a primary typeface that was inspired by the serif typeface from the downtown logo. The one that I picked is called Mrs. Eves. It's got a nice tight letter to it, and it's got really, really attractive curves to it.
Just to interrupt you for a second, that's what that is.
Yeah. Great minds think alike. I didn't test it, but for some reason, as I was looking. Now, the one thing that I did do is, as I moved into these new recommendations, I went to what's called a title style. So just the H is capitalized and then a lowercase, and you'll see why. The second was I selected a secondary typeface that was a clean contemporary sans serif, also to pay tribute to the new identity for chamber. Now, this one I'm pretty sure is not going to be the same, but it's Gotham Bold is the secondary typeface. That's yours? Yeah. We knew that. We did that on purpose. Making us look smarter and smarter every time. And then finally, we adopted a third typeface that we're treating as an accent typeface. And that third is called Brand Pro. And it's a script typeface, and it's only used in small applications. A lot of times when communities try to, if you get a group of people around a table, they say, well, our community's so pretty. Shouldn't we have a pretty typeface? And next thing you know, somebody wants to use papyrus or curls, and everybody that knows anything about design commits suicide. And so we didn't want to do that. But when we bring these three together, we've got that primary, which is the Mrs. Eves, secondary of Gotham, and the accent with the brand. Then we wanted to look at how we could deal with graphics, and I went around and around with this. My first instinct was I wanted to create an H that could be a signature H, that could simplify down to an icon. You have a reality that exists in this community that is not necessarily all that different from anywhere else, but you have the traditionalists versus the progressives. Now, that's not a real fight. It's a perceived fight. They don't actually understand that they're only 2 inches apart. But some of the most progressive communities I've ever met have had a focus on historic preservation. And some of the most historic communities that I've ever been to have always found progressive and creative ways to solve problems. So it is not mutually exclusive. You can be traditional and contemporary. You can be traditional and progressive at the same time. And that is the feeling that I got. But that being said, I wanted to create something that the traditionalists could still relate to. So I wanted to give you a stylized version of the courthouse that would give you a clean graphic tool that you could use. So we pulled that in together. And then we move over to the brand values. The things that I heard you all say, or the things that I witnessed for myself, first of all, you're a community that is known for your events. You get positive identity and positive perception from the region because of your events. And that's a good thing. You have fantastic downtown building stock. Your building stock is so good that normal, regular citizens on the street who have no training complain about buildings that don't have cornices. I had it happen to me this morning in the coffee shop. Lady literally said, I can't believe that building's beautiful, but the one next to it doesn't even have a cornice. Like, what are you an architect? No, I'm a photographer. Well, do you shoot buildings? No, I shoot babies. Okay. So, but one of the things that was said over and over again, and this is one of the things that we have to make sure that we work on, make sure that we focus our attention on. Your physical environment sets a high expectation. For some reason, there is a gap that then occurs. Now, if we can get the people out of their cars, onto the streets, and into the stores, the level of quality perception stays high. But there is a gap between driving through and discovering the businesses. That's not atypical. But what it points to is it points to, in my mind, and speaking from kind of a planning perspective, it points to one of your greatest assets working against you right this second. And one of your greatest assets is the width of your sidewalks. You've got fantastically wide sidewalks. You have the opportunity for people to really be, for a lot of activity there. You got no problem with sidewalk eating, sidewalk dining. I felt like I heard all trip long, nobody walks around, the streets are empty. They say that over and over. I agree, but that's what I heard over and over. Now, we drove through Brighton. Brighton didn't look all that busy, but their sidewalks are like this wide. And I took pictures all night last night, and the sidewalks were full. I took pictures all day yesterday. Sidewalks had people. But, you know, if you're not rubbing shoulders against each other, it doesn't feel full. And in addition to that, that sidewalk width gives a greater gap between what you see when you're on the road and what you perceive to be the activity happening right next to you. Now, people who said that downtown was not pedestrian friendly, I think we have different definitions of what pedestrian friendliness is. To have a road as busy as Grand River is, running straight through your downtown, I felt unbelievably comfortable walking the sidewalks. The width of the sidewalks actually gives you additional comfort. But we also know that crossing side to side can be more difficult. I did it a lot, but it's wide. You're crossing a parallel parking, 2 lanes, a turn lane, 2 lanes, and parallel parking. So it is a wide turn. And, you know, oftentimes an urban planner would say, oh, you need bump outs. They love to put bump outs on everything. You need bump outs to shrink that conceptual distance in somebody's mind at the crosswalks. Now,
What's a bump out?
a bump out is literally like if your curb is running the lines of your parallel park space, when you get to the end of the parallel park space as you head towards the intersection, it's where the sidewalk then bumps out and it shrinks the distance that the pedestrian has to walk by the length of the parallel parking spaces on each side. Now, because of snow removal and because of truck turning radiuses, many times you can't put bump outs in. But what communities have started doing is they've actually started doing curb cuts and started simply doing textured concrete or asphalt in that space to give the visual appearance of a bump out without any kind of curb to impede turning radius. So something to think about. Obviously, the 5 lanes are wide, and then the 2 lanes of parallel, those are wide. You're a state highway. It is what it is. There are plenty of great downtowns all over the country that have the exact same traffic dynamic. And we also know that with virtually no effort on your part, the new interchange that is happening is going to have an effect on truck traffic. You need to see it as an opportunity. You need to see it as an opportunity of a changing sense of environment in your downtown. You also need to seize the opportunity to help people continue to have downtown in their path if there are potential customers. So those are some really, really good and exciting things for us. Third thing, significant investment and improvements. What in the world does that mean? As I drove in, I took exit 137. I was immediately hit with streetscape. I was immediately hit with public amenities, street poles, period street poles, probably the nicest parking lot I've ever seen in my entire life with parking lot 1. You know, there are parking lots at Buckingham Palace that are not that nice. The signage, you know, all of those things, there is a public investment that equals the private sector investment. The public space is as nice as the building stock. So that is something that is very impactful to the outside. And then also, you all have a momentum. You are on an upswing. If you ask people if you're stagnant, if you're on a decline or you're on an upswing, almost universally, I got the answer that you're on an upswing. People are excited. They also have a couple benchmarks that they want to see done. They either want to see done or are just so excited that they're about to burst open. People can't wait for Heart of Howell to be done. They can't wait for that to be part of the community. People want to see the Opera House payment. They want to see more visual signs of change on the outside for the effort that communities make. Again, all those things I understand. I know that those issues are far more complicated than just saying, go do that. Sounds like a good idea. Y'all go paint that. But I just wanted to share that. You're at a point of positive momentum, and you have projects in the pipe that are going to continue that sense of momentum. You need to make sure that you celebrate that with each and every win. And it was great. As I was working today, I heard Diane and Pat talking about doing an opening for Heidi, you know? And it's the things like that. Every new business, those are not just photo ops. Those are celebrations of new things our community has to offer itself. So those are really, really great efforts, and I applaud you to continue on with that. All right. Take these brand values and we start to put them into what we call a brand statement. Now this is a very, very rough draft. This document is actually going to end up being probably 3 paragraphs longer than it is now. But I wanted to just go ahead and give you a little bit of insight into what I was thinking. And again, the thing that you said over and over again is people know us for events. They come here for events, then they love our events. We need to take that positive perception and we need to make it work for us 365 days a year. So, we're Howell, Michigan, and we are a distinctive place nestled in a quickly growing region. We are a Michigan hometown with a welcome that is warm and an environment that is as relaxing as it is beautiful. For 150 years, Howell has been celebrated as the center for commerce, a traditional community, and has a spirit tightly bound. We invite you to be our guest, explore our home, take a walk down our streets, visit our shops, dine in our restaurants, enjoy our events, and experience the place we love. We are Howell, where every day is an event. So what we want to do is we want to start stitching all these things together. We want to take this idea of every day being an event and give you that opportunity to start promoting all the things that you have to offer. And this takes the positive that you already have and uses to distribute it over the story. Now, I want to go through, one of the things we played around a lot, and I kind of engaged Diane and Lindsay on helping me kind of think through some of this stuff. Did something a little funny here. I want the identity system to be very adaptive to the image and message that we're sharing. So I created 3 different 2-color versions that go back into those color families. We had played around with one that kind of looked a little bit like a circus show, and we decided to scale that back a little bit. And yeah, it was like I kept showing it to them, and then I was like, let me look at it again. And I'd change it, and I'd show them again, and I never really liked it. And then finally, I was like, you know what, the 2-color approach makes much more sense. But the thing that's also nice about this is it works in one color, it works in black and white, it works in reverse. That's a very, very important thing to check. The other thing that's interesting about this is it gives us a series of components that we can break down and start to use in different ways all across the board. So whether it's blowing up our tagline, whether it's taking that signature H and turning it into an icon, whether it's taking the scroll element out and simply giving us a nice long scroll, whether it's removing the top graphic altogether, whether it's simply coupling the top graphic with the scroll, we've got a lot of different options. So we have different tools and different variations. Now, like I said, you've got a fantastic shopping and dining guide. One of the big things that you want to do with that is simply make sure that it reinforces that same identity. And the other thing, and I hate designing shopping and dining guides. I'm sure you love it. It's probably your favorite thing in the world. It's mind-numbing because it's like, not only is the inside information frustrating because the moment you send it to the printer it's out of date, but in addition to that, you are limited to a 3.5 or 3.667 by 8.5 space to design in. And if you want somebody to know who in the world you are from a rack distribution system, you got to shove your logo in the top third. And, that makes it very hard. It dictates a lot of your design. But if you're going to invest in it, and you guys have got a good one, probably want to make sure that that identity is up there. Then just simply being able to have this stuff roll over into collateral materials that people might be able to buy, whether it is things like hats or getting your merchants to do fun stuff with apparel, not the standard, what I call a car wash shirt, It's like at events all the time, they want to give out a free t-shirt. And then it has like 700 logos on the back. And that free gift that you got, you're like, oh, well, I'll cut the grass in this sucker, but I'm never going to wear it outside. And you just always want to remember. But, you know, even making its way into fun, you know, collateral material. I mean, a Patagonia vest. These people want an opportunity to show pride. If you can get half the people that put up Howell High School H's all over town to carry this through, you're in good shape. The fact is, we've made high school pride easy. We've made community pride difficult. So we need to shrink that gap and make it far easier for them. And then finally, I want to roll over and just kind of show you some of the images and ads. And the thing that's so great about these ads is these ads come at you from every direction. You want your business community to see the value in promoting Howell downtown. And I need to talk about that because we made some very deliberate decisions about how we were going to order it. Should it be downtown Howell or should it be Howell downtown? Now, the fact is, people for the most part, they just say, I'm going downtown. We know that. We know that to be the case. But when we wanted to package everything up, we decided that we wanted to reorder that. We wanted Howell to always come first. It does a couple things for us from a design perspective. It gives us a nice solid foundation to put the word on because we can do downtown in all caps. And it also gives us an opportunity to make it a little bit easier when we start to look at things like web addresses. And we have already purchased howelldowntown.com. We've got a hosting account set up for that. We're also creating a full digital strategy to roll out Howell Downtown as the identity for the DDA to be able to communicate to consumers. It just always puts the differentiating identity on the forefront. Now, with that, you can start to see this flavor that can come together and give you the opportunity to show off some of the qualities of the business community that you have and just the overall space that you have. Now, I went in Howell Western Wear. I have done branding for downtown Laramie, Wyoming. I have been in some of the most picturesque western towns, Cheyenne, and all over Wyoming, Colorado, Montana. This is one of the nicest western wear stores I've ever seen. And their owner is even nicer than that. She is fantastic. It's Lynn, is that right?
Yes.
Fantastic. So being able to show how businesses like that start to paint this picture. Being able to go and take images of your assets. Now, again, you will, as you will see as I go through this, very, very mindful. Anytime you start to try to change anything, believe it or not, you're going to be shocked. But there's some people out there that are scared of change. I know you don't understand, but you know, being able to give those images in a strong, impactful way that let them know that we are not forgetting history. This is not that we are not abandoning history to be contemporary. We are trying to move it all forward. Off some of those cool spaces, you know, the interesting angles that you might pick up on. But the thing that's so funny about this whole concept of every day is an event is you can use that to help tell the story of what goes on every single day. So I would love to see us do a whole campaign of what we call, you know, mundane events, the things that happen every day, celebrating freshest available day every Sunday. And you'll see more of those. And trying to capture those images, the character of the community. A killer building. And that was the one that the photographer was complaining about, the one next to it. It's like, it doesn't even have a cornice. You know, zooming in, and it's funny that you said that, Pat. You know, one of the things that I think is very, very important for us, these ads are every single bit for our neighbors as they are for our potential visitors. So anytime you can show people something that they walk past every day in a different angle, from a different perspective, with a different color. Just it shakes them for a second because it's something they should know exactly, and they haven't seen it that way. It helps to grow appreciation. So whether it's zooming in on elements, I love the little wedding chapel. This is a really, really killer spot downtown. I think it's just above the outside seating at Diamonds. Isn't that right? I mean, it's, yeah, because we're right next to the spa. Just the whole area with the courthouse lawn, you know, the Veterans Monument, the space that is created, it is, you feel like there are as many lanes running past you as there are right there. I don't understand why it drops down to one lane outside and stays. That I don't understand, and I mean, it would be interesting to see what they would say if you brought that up. But
we're looking at moving it back at least a block.
Good,
so.
Good. But then some of the other things that are interesting too is you can simply take that silhouette and use that silhouette to deposit feeling and emotion into it. Now, this picture is actually, it is a picture of that same building with the ornate cornice, but it has an ultra-high blur and an ultra-high saturation. This is intended to be abstract. A lot of people hate abstract. But
the courthouse?
Well, the
it's
outside.
the courthouse. Yeah, the outside is the courthouse,
inside.
but the image inside is not. And you'll see another one that's got a literal image inside. But, you know, being able to use the same graphic tools to navigate around different publications, you can come up with something that, you know, you might need to run an ad in something that's more related to, say, an arts kind of organization. You want to be a little edgier. You want to be a little cleaner, be a little more contemporary. You can take something and do it like that.
Just had one comment. Did you consider every day as one word versus two words? Because you know, I was looking at it, and these things, it sounds like every day means ordinary. And actually, I looked this up, and it says that
Every day like that is
every
an
day
adjective.
is one word, and every day is two words are often confused in English, and one word is an adjective.
I love Bob. Like, you know,
We're all thinking the same thing.
you know,
The English majors in
well,
it's
It
two words.
means commonplace and ordinary, so it's like
Gotcha.
eventful every day. It's like your everyday dish is every day one word. But then if you say every day, it's
right.
like emphasizing it happens every day.
But the simplicity
You
of
know, I
one
go to the
word
park every day.
is more what grabs.
Yeah.
Well, and I mean, I will
But
say,
to me,
obviously,
it's like a big letdown. It's like eventful every day. It's like it's eventful. It's kind of ordinary. It's mundane. It's every day.
Gotcha.
But
All right.
it's two words,
Here's what I'll say. The first answer to your question, did I consider it? No.
Okay.
So your point is very, very well taken. The last thing that we want is we want improper English to weaken the message. So we definitely want to take a look at that. Now, I'll look at both how, obviously, I think in a headline, changing it to two words is no problem at all. When we get down into the tagline, I'll look at it. I'll make sure that I make the right choice. Okay? But thank you for bringing it up, because honestly, when you do it all in a day, you try to.
The first time you look at it,
you try to think through it all.
Each time you see it, it's like, this isn't right.
Yeah. Oh, I had a retired English teacher jump on me once because I said most unique, or no, I said very unique. I said very unique. She was like, unique is unique. There are no variations of unique. Unique is only unique. And I'm like, whoa, you are exactly right.
Uncorked. That's cool.
Yeah, they were happy last night. Okay, how many of you have been to the Howell Conference and Nature Center? That place is awesome.
You should see it on Groundhog Day.
Oh. Okay, so like I had seen, the only way that I knew about it, not a single person mentioned it in any of the meetings. Not one. The only way I knew about it was the sign at the exit. And as we were driving around yesterday, I was like, hey, have you been to the Nature Center?
And I said no.
No, she's no. She's got the excuse. And
I don't know, it's like, it's
It's 5 miles out.
Yeah, but it
But-
used to be when I was in school, they had a very little one next to the middle school.
Oh.
Like,
It really, if you don't know the depth of their programs, it truly is an unbelievable asset to the community. And I understand that the Nature Center is not in downtown, but I also understand that every single student that leaves that center leaves with the name Howell in their mind. So being able to tie that into the overall story, they've got this fantastic sculpture right when you pull in. I mean, just really, really great asset.
Can I
You-
interject something here?
Absolutely.
About a year ago, the Nature Center people realized that they had an identity problem within this area. I grew up in Detroit. I knew of the Nature Center when I was 16 years old.
Wow.
I was amazed when I came out here, so I was asked to be in the focus group. I think there's a number of us here in this room that were in the focus group at the Nature Center because they have recognized that they are not as well known in this community in which they're located as they should be.
Great.
So they're going through a similar.
Well, and they're very, very rich. I mean, they've got fantastic resources. They've got these great little crazy shaped buses that, have the graphics all. I mean, just really, really cool. So yeah, you want to always promote those. Nobody ever walks downtown, right? Nobody's ever out there. There's nothing to buy here. But then again, even kind of promoting those, you believe it or not, if you ask a florist, they will tell you you don't have to buy flowers on Valentine's Day. You can do it other days of the year. It's completely acceptable. And you don't have to be in trouble to buy them. Again, showing off some of the stores, some of the selection, just great character. Your stores are very well merchandised and well laid out. They feel very, very professional. And, sometimes the word consignment shop is buses that come here to go to consignment shops. But consignment shops don't always carry the highest caliber in people's minds. I think everybody will know what I say when I say your consignment shops don't smell funny.
Right.
So it is a different quality of retail that contributes to the community. Talking about that relationship with businesses and the sidewalks, this is a great example. Now this was Simply Charming. How the product spills out onto the street, and it was funny. We talked about how they should do that at Skinny J's and Sunny J's, and we were like,
Skinny J's.
yeah. Sorry. And we kind of said it tongue in cheek, and then last night during the stroll, they had a rack of stuff out on the sidewalk. I was like, all right, they must have heard us. Again, showing off that character, you got a very, very diverse availability of retail, where you can bring literal imagery into that. Carriage House, fantastic. I mean, I do this all over the country, and that is probably one of the coolest retail spaces I've ever been in. I know. That's what I heard. Again, bringing in, kind of connecting with some of the stuff that the stores have. I mean, there's nobody ever on the streets, Nobody goes out there. Have fun with it, The different products.
Sweet.
Yeah.
Oh, that's really cute.
It is absolutely okay to own resources outside of your district. It was September 18th yesterday. There were 3 women out there sunbathing yesterday that waved at me. Very funny. I'm not sure whether it's because I was out there with a camera and they were in their bathing suits or not, but they were they were probably twice my age, and they kept wanting me to come over there, but I got.
But you took a picture of the fisherman.
took the picture of the fisherman instead. Yeah. That just social aspect to downtown. I love this, and I don't know whether you can really even see, but these two little people sitting here talking, and they sat there for an hour. I mean, he was working hard. She was cute, and he was doing everything he could do. Now, I'm going to say this, okay? I'm going to say this. I said it to Diane earlier. I'm going to say it to everybody, and this is, I'm going to say it because I get to leave tonight. This is beautiful, okay? This is absolutely beautiful. If you could go in and strategically, just right there.
Kathleen just left, aren't you? Yeah.
Just one.
The county.
Just one branch. That one right there. Just limb that. We're not cutting it. We're limbing it. That's what tree surgeons do. They limb things. Then that one branch would open up an entire view shed of the courthouse tower from that entire section of downtown. Now, people are always like, you can't cut trees. It will hurt their feelings. But, and I know, I mean, you know, you lost some elms to Dutch elm disease. I know that is always a very, very sensitive topic. But the thing that I can tell you is the person who designed the landscape plan for the courthouse grounds never intended for the tree canopy to cover the view shed of the tower. I guarantee that to be the truth. They intended it to grow tall. They intended it to become a canopy. They intended it to project dappled light on the lawn so that people would congregate there and enjoy that space. But being able, I mean, literally, I had to walk all the way over into the amphitheater before I could get an angle that exposed the clock tower. Okay? Very, very simple thing. It's not a make or break, but those are the kind of things that we just want to think about and, you know, have somebody in the middle of the night cut that. Again, showing off those elements. One of the things that I think is kind of cool about the precedent that we set with this is we can start to use architectural elements and silhouettes of buildings in the same way that we're using the clock tower. As we continue that on, we can start using those cutouts and really start to build. And what we would be doing is through the composition of our messaging, we would be reinforcing our value on architecture. So doing some fun things like that. Again, showing off some of those elements. Believe it or not, you don't have to try to tell every single story in every ad. I think you'll see that in these images that I'm trying to share. You know, and another thing I thought about with this is, and it plays into Bob's recommendation too, it doesn't always have to say every day. If you're buying a print ad, it is absolutely okay to say today only and not have a date on it. You know, kind of like those signs that say free beer tomorrow in bars. You know, it is absolutely okay to incorporate that into your message. Nobody ever walks downtown. Telling some of those stories, capturing some of those historic buildings, and some of those people. Yeah. Man, everybody seems to love her, and she's just got such a warm heart. It kind of comes through when you talk to her. You can tell.
That's cool. That's cool.
You know, changing the perspective for people who have misconceptions about the community. I mean, the traffic here is the traffic that goes through here is no worse than traffic that goes through anywhere else. It's fast. There is a lot moving on it. But I mean, you know, the fact that you do have so many lanes dilutes the impact of the traffic. I was in a community in Vermont last week that had very, very similar traffic numbers to yours on a 2-lane road through their downtown. So you can imagine, and as much truck traffic. And when you talk about diverting trucks, you have to cut through mountains to make that happen there. So your situation isn't that bad, but being able to kind of show this off, and I just kind of love this. Do y'all know the people in this picture? Does anybody know these people? All right, good. So you got your hipster in his skinny jeans walking his dog, and his hipster wife with her jeggings. You're walking the baby, and these are the people that we want to recruit, and these are the people that we want to be, the new energy in the community.
And that's something I've heard for the last 10 years. If you get dogs and kids in your downtown.
And jeggings.
And jeggings
Yeah.
now, yeah.
Yeah.
You got it going on.
So again, showing off, I mean, you start to see, you get this variety and you get a certain continuity through the confidence of the design. This makes it very, very easy for downtown businesses to figure out how they can incorporate in, how they can be a part of it. And, we were talking about, just because I'm showing these as ads does not mean that I expect you to go out and run full-page magazine ads every week. But this could be vacancy treatments in your vacant storefronts. This could be definitely digital campaigns along social media. There are many, many ways that we can get these messages out. But again, we have to remember our own friends and neighbors are our evangelists. They're going to be the ones that echo any message that we put out. And we got to remind them first why this place is great. There were simply too many people saying, I mean, Howell's pretty and all, but I have to go to Brighton to have fun. Well, it's not true, because I saw plenty of them having fun in Howell. But it is always, always easier to focus on what you're lacking than reminding yourself of what you have. I always tell folks, having a historic downtown like this is kind of like having an American classic car. It does not matter. The older it gets, the better it gets. But I've got a 1967 Mustang. I remember every single time that car broke down. I know everything that is wrong with it. I know every piece of Bondo under the paint. But when I take it and show it to other people, they simply say, you've got a beautiful car. And I need that external validation to motivate myself to continually put money into it over and over and over again. And our historic downtowns are the exact same way. The girl in the neon yellow obviously is a student at Michigan. And she bolted right across the crosswalk as her parents and her non-college sister waited. And she goes, I live in Ann Arbor. We teach the cars to stop there.
It's actually true.
Thought it was interesting.
I have to drive the campus every day.
Yeah.
They do teach us to stop.
But again, just seeing all these different families, people gathering, and these people that you see, they were not participating in the event last night. These were families that were just out there. And then this next one's one of my favorites. I have to admit, this was one of the funniest things that I've ever seen in my life. Because, all right, everybody knows where we are. We're stopped at the light. Uptown's to my right. The bank's to my left. There is a group of women stopped on my left, getting ready to cross over towards Mr. B's. There is a barbershop quartet on my right. The barbershop quartet is told not to cross the street. But these two guys see all the women. So two of the quartet cross while two of the quartet stay. It was classic. And then of course, they get over to the corner full of women and they're all like, oh, it's a barbershop duet. It was great. It was great. So, as you start to pull all these things together, as you start to see a simple yet confident approach to telling the story, a message that has built-in flexibility that allows individual events, individual organizations, and individual businesses to easily play along, plus a component-based identity system that will give us the opportunity to start to filter this in to events that go on into the community. And that's what I'll be doing on the next visit, is I'll be showing redesign, especially for events that the DDA is involved in. and also some direct recommendations to the DDA as an organization, because they have a split personality as an organization. And Diane was saying, she said, how do you answer the phone?
Yeah, right now it's Howell Main Street DDA.
Howell Main Street DDA. And from a city perspective, you are the DDA board. But from a volunteer perspective, we want people to think that they're volunteering for Main Street. We probably need to create some organizational separation between the legal entity. We want to create a little clarity so that when you go and ask someone to volunteer, they feel like they are volunteering for a grassroots organization that's trying to make their downtown better instead of volunteering for a city committee. People don't, it's a different response to those two. So they are one and the same, but being able to have a very, very clear and concise way of communicating is going to be real important. So with that, I have kept it as 7:10 on the dot. I want to open it up for a couple questions, and then you guys, there are events on the town, so I know we want to get out there. But now it is your time. Before we do that, though, I want to thank you all. This has been a great week. I've had a lot of fun over the past 3 days. I've enjoyed meeting all of you. Hopefully, it comes through in the things that I say and the recommendations that I make, that I really think a lot of your community. And I feel like you all deserve to be in control of your own destiny and shape your own vision for your future. And I feel like you've got a ton to work with. And with some simple tools, you'll be able to take it and run with it. So with that, it's your turn. Yes, sir.
What's the role of the city